Okay. I'm glad everybody's here today. This is Robert Burns, and I'm going to get into a concept called contacting and inviting. Contacting and inviting, I submit, is 90, maybe as high as 90%, 95% of the game in networking when somebody's new, especially. In other words, if somebody's good at contacting and inviting, they can completely change their trajectory in their business quickly. And so it's a skill that is a very desirable skill to have. It's a skill that we're not born with. In other words, it's a teachable skill. It's a learnable skill, and it's one that when you master it and you get, mastery is an interesting word. I mean, when you get better at it, and over time, by getting scuffed up and so forth, getting out in the marketplace, will you master it? Yeah, you will if you do enough of it. And that process, I submit, is really worth the effort because it literally can change your financial destiny quickly. And so if somebody starts out in any network marketing business, and the focus here is not going to be on a particular company, it's going to be on the concepts of how do I use good contacting and inviting to get guests to an event to take a look at it. That doesn't mean you have to be the presenter. That means you get good at bringing people to the event. Now, maybe you want to be a presenter, maybe you have that skill already, but you want to learn that, or you're willing to do that later on. But initially, it may be that you're bringing people to an event to have them see the information and have somebody else present on your behalf. And you don't ever have to do the presentation. If you get good at this, you will have enough people in front of the message that just by sheer numbers, you will have victories. And that's the power of this. In other words, if you get people in front of the message, you're going to win. So, how do you get people in front of the message? A few things to touch on. The fundamentals are prospecting is contacting and inviting, meaning that may be these days still a phone call or in person. You can do contacting and inviting in person. You can do it on a phone call. You can do it via instant message. In person is the best. Phone call is second best. Instant messages are third best because you want, if you can, you want to have eye contact or have the benefit of them hearing your passion, which you can't squeeze that into a text message as easily as you can having them hear your enthusiasm. Now, what is it not? It's not presentation. This is one of the things that people get into in this business where they miss the mark completely. You reach out to somebody, they basically share with them what it is you're trying to do, and I'll show you a very simple method here in just a minute to do that. But the prospect expresses interest, and so you go, "Oh, I got one," and you pounce on them and you start presenting it. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work because invariably when you're calling somebody, you're interrupting them. So having an approach that is simply about piquing their interest, letting them know about an upcoming event, getting their commitment that they'll show up at that event, and then moving on to your next call. That's what contacting and inviting is about. It's not about presenting. So if you find yourself presenting, you want to pump the brakes on that. You don't want to do that because that's actually not as powerful. What's an exposure? An exposure is getting somebody to take a look at a webinar. Exposure is getting somebody to take a look at a meeting that has the presentation of the information that you'd like them to see. Typically, it's a series of exposures that is going to be the winner. In other words, they come and an exposure might be a team website that has a video on it. They come and they look at the video and they go, "Oh, well, that's interesting." The next logical step would be for them to see a live presentation. And it's better, by the way, if you do that. If they can see a video first on the information, and then they say that was interesting, then the next logical step, well, let me introduce you to some of the people I'm working with on the team, and you can get a sense of what we're about and also get any remaining questions you may have answered. So now they're not showing up cold to an event. They've seen a video. They come to a second presentation or maybe a third presentation, and they have a reference point. They're showing up understanding at least a bit about what the whole thing is about. Your likelihood of having somebody enroll then is much higher right there. So getting good at getting them to come to the event is all about what this is going to entail today. What's the right tool? I don't know. I don't know what the right one is, but what I do know is if you stay in the game and you have enough exposures, you're going to win. And you know, if you get 100 people in a room and say, what was the thing that got you to turn the corner, you know, on this business, this product or this business, you'll get 100 different answers. It doesn't matter. The key thing is a series of exposures and get them in front of the information. It may be something that wasn't of appeal to you, but it is appealing to them. You know, it doesn't matter. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. You can't say the right thing to the wrong person. It's a matter of numbers. Some will say no, some will say yes. Move on through the process. The numbers start working for you when you do that. How many exposures? I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 6. You know, and if you have good follow-up systems, you're going to be continuing to make those exposures. Always, 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 this is an acronym that you want to embrace, BAMFAM. What's BAMFAM? That means book a meeting from a meeting. So if they came to a meeting today at 7 a.m., which a good number did, my objective was to book the next meeting, which was 4 hours later, and let them know, here's the next exposure. Get some guests now to the meeting, to the next one. And so that's an ideal situation where you have a couple meetings back to back. Get people, if they can't show up for the one, you know, that's coming up at 11 a.m. Pacific time in 2 hours or an hour and 50 minutes, there's one tomorrow. In other words, that's what we're trying to do. And the objective of this is a sorting process. In other words, if you had 2 tables of people and you said, okay, we're going to find out who the ketchup lovers are, okay? And the 2 tables are competing with one another. Which group makes it around the rotation quicker to find out who the ketchup lovers are, they win the prize money. And the prize money is $500. Who likes ketchup? Simple exercise. Who is a ketchup lover? Now, if you're going around the table, you simply want to ask them, do you like ketchup? Yes or no? You don't want to get into trying to convince a mustard lover that ketchup is the preferred condiment. In other words, don't try to persuade the mustard lovers. Look for the ones that like ketchup. Look for the ones that like ketchup. In other words, if you go around the table and you determine who quickly likes ketchup, your team is going to win the $500. The ones that are trying to persuade the mustard lovers that ketchup is the superior condiment, they're not going to win. You get my point. In other words, work with the willing. Work with the willing. Quickly get to the people that go, hey, I like what you've got. I'm into crypto. I'm into DeFi. I'm into all the stuff that you're talking about. Those are easier. They're ketchup lovers. Love the mustard lovers, but move on. You understand my point? In other words, this is called sorting in networking, by the way. Now, it's better to be ignorance on fire, or ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice. Makes sense, right? In other words, one of the things that we teach people when, you know, effective leadership is in place is don't worry about what you don't know. Worry about how you serve it up. In other words, if you say, look, I'm new, I've got something I really want you to see. It takes about an hour to see it, and it may or may not be for you. You're hanging a lantern on the fact that you're new. It gives you permission not to know stuff. You're new. How could you know all the stuff? And it also empowers your team to be effective quickly. They don't have to, I've got to study everything, and then and only then I will get busy. You don't want that. You know, you want... There's nothing wrong with ignorance on fire at first, as long as you are effective and plug into the systems, hang a lantern on the fact that you are new and you'll be fine, right? Because then there's no apology for, hey, that's exactly why I want you to come to the meeting, because they're not new. I'm new. I'm just inviting you. I'm taking a look at it. I'd like you to see it with me. Okay, very important concept. People buy from whom they know, they like, and they trust. How do you develop that? It just takes time. There's no substance unless they know you and like you and trust you already. But if it's somebody cold, you got to develop that. And the goal is to get them to take a look. You're not looking for a big commitment just for them to kick the tires with you. Posture. What does that mean? Be in a hurry and clear the time. Posture is tonally how you sound. We'll get into this as I get into the presentation. And never present anything unless you can present everything, meaning there's no way on earth on a prospecting call, on a contacting and inviting call, that you can show them the whole thing. Further, you're interrupting them almost every time. So you want to get on the call, pique their interest, get their commitment that they're going to show up, and make it so it's not weird. Make it so that it's, it's comfortable for them to say no if they don't like it, but you just want them to come and look. And then get off the call. Don't try to present it. If you try to present it, you're shooting yourself in the foot because you've interrupted them. They're not really paying attention anyway, and you really can't share everything with them. It's just not a good approach. You want to make sure that you can share the whole thing or nothing. And that's, again, don't be presenting if you're contacting and inviting. Product versus business, this is depending on the company. Sometimes leading with the product is good. Sometimes leading with the business is good. It really just varies a great deal depending on the company and the product that you're marketing. It always is important to incorporate your why if you can. If you're contacting somebody, you and she or you and he work at the same employer, or maybe you have a buddy that works at a different company that's in a similar industry, and you two have gotten together over a cold one and said, hey, I'd really like to have a way of getting out of the job. Don't want to continue to work for that employer. I'd like to find a way out. Now, if you're calling them up and you think you've found a way to do that, do you think you're going to have their attention? Yes. They go, wait a minute. You said that you think you found a way to get rid of the job? I think I have. And I don't know if it's going to work for you or you're going to see it the way I saw it. I don't know that, but I'd like you to see it and take a look at it with me. It's coming up in an hour and 45 minutes. And again, it may or may not be for you. I don't know, but I'd like you to see it. That's it. That's it. Job, get them the link. That's the contacting and inviting. It's so simple, people miss it. But it's super powerful when you get good at that, because your goal is to just to pique their interest and to get their commitment that they're going to come. 5 simple things. Something to say it well, set the appointment, say goodbye, make another call. Bing, bang, boom, done. Okay? It's really important to be snappy on this stuff and be in a hurry. Okay? Being in a hurry, it just helps, because being new and hanging a lantern on the fact that you're new, in other words, if you're new, even if you're not new, I don't want you to lie, but, look, hey, because when you do this properly, you're going to see that they'll go, wow, that's interesting, and they will want to know more. Then you have to have the posture, the poise to say, man, I don't want to spoil the movie for you. I want you to come and see it the way I saw it, okay? I've got something, these are the 3 allies now. Now we're getting into kind of the brass tacks, and you can get these in any order. I've got something I'd like to show you. Takes about an hour. It'll take under that, but let's just say an hour, so they set that aside. And you may or may not be interested. Now, you can get these in any order, okay? You can get them in any order. I've got something that takes about an hour. It's something I want to show you and have you take a look at, and it may or may not be for you. You may or may not be interested. That's it. The beauty of this approach is you may or may not be interested. I got something I want to show you. It takes about an hour. Okay? It doesn't matter what. In other words, you can foul it up and get it in any order and it still works. Something to show you, the time that it takes. Okay? When is it? It's coming up, and let them know, and I'm going to send you the link. To register. In this case, it's a meeting, so they just have to click it and show up. I've got something to show you. I'll send you the link. It takes about an hour to take a look at it, and it may or may not be for you. I don't know, but I'd like you to see it. Now, if you really are good and you know them, you can incorporate your why. Hey, dude, remember that thing we were talking about, getting out of the job? I think I figured out a way to do that, and I thought of you. Now, I don't know if this is going to be for you or not. I don't know if you'll see it the way I saw it, but I'd like you to see it. It's coming up in about an hour and 45 minutes. It'll take about an hour to see it, and it may or may not be for you. I don't know. That's it. Okay? If you can incorporate that in your contacting and inviting, your results will change quickly. When they say, what is it? I have figured out a way to completely get out of that job within this period of time. I think this is my goal. Within a year, I'll be out of the job. Product story as to your why, or a business story as to your why. Depending on the company, you can incorporate a product story or a business story, or both. Okay, they're powerful when you can tell your own story. What is it? Now, you got to get good at this. In other words, I will touch on it if I'm marketing the primary project that I'm working on at the moment is a company that is in the education space for DeFi and lots of things that help people create passive income. Education that teaches people how to achieve passive income with a variety of instruments. So if I'm approaching somebody, I will touch on it. I'll say, look, it involves a bunch of things which you'll see on the presentation, but it's centered around decentralized finance with crypto and other digital assets. That's it. If you get into too much explanation, now you've crossed the line into presentation. You don't want to do that. Because if you do that, first of all, they're not listening. You interrupted them when you called them. They were doing something else, and they're just not really tuned in. Try to avoid that. You know, and the key thing that you really want to do is to create interest and pique their interest is, you know, a fine phrase is, man, this thing is big. It's big. It's an area that people desperately need. There's not a lot of ways to do what this company is doing, and this company has really mastered it. That's why I want you to see it. Another couple of ways that you can incorporate again to, you know, when they say, well, what is it? Tell me more. Dude, I'd love to, but I'm new. And I'd really like you to see it the way I saw it. I don't want to spoil the movie for you. I want you to see it the way I saw it. And see, when you can incorporate that, you're hanging a lantern on the fact that you're new, and that will kind of shut the questions down because you don't really want to be doing the presentation. You want let the presenter do the presentation on your behalf. Okay, it's much more, because here's the thing: when a prospect is looking at something, they have two things that really are critical that they want to know. What's in it for me? WIFM, the old radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? Number two, can I do it? Can I do what John is doing? Can I do what Sherwin is doing? Can I do what Lon is doing? That's what they want to know. And if you're presenting it and you're really hitting them with all this technical jargon and all this stuff that they don't really understand, they're going, I'm not sure I can do. They won't say it necessarily, but they're thinking, I'm not sure I can do what this guy or gal's doing. On the other hand, if you say, look, I've got something I want you to see, takes about an hour. It's coming up in an hour and 40 minutes. I'll send you the link, and I don't know if it's going to be for you or not, but I'd like you to take a look at it with me. That's it. Okay? And if you can do that, if you can simply do that, you can absolutely get people to the presentations. And when you get people to the presentations, you've just increased your likelihood of having a successful outcome dramatically. Because if you get people in front of the message, and you get good at that, you're becoming an effective networker. Warm market is always better. Develop skills to approach cold market prospects. And posture matters. How you say it matters. You know, if somebody has poise, they sound a certain way. They sound like, you know, this and you can have poise when you're brand new, when you learn this. Okay, you don't have to be the experienced old hand. You can have posture, or what I call poise or posture, same thing. Here's how posture sounds. Dude, I've got something I really want you to see. I just ran across this information. It's about crypto and digital assets and an education system. And there's a presentation coming up in an hour and 40 minutes, and I thought of you. I don't know if you're going to see the same thing I saw here. I don't know if this is going to be for you or not, but I'd like you to look at it with me. I'm brand new in it. I just enrolled, and I'm pretty psyched about it. No joke. So I'd like you to come and attend with me. Fair enough? That is what posture sounds like. Here's what the opposite sounds like. Hey, man, I joined this business, and I think it's kind of good. I'm not sure. See, if you sound tentative, they'll pick up that just like a dog smells a bird. They pick up on it. And when you're new, if you can develop the skills to have posture when you're new, that tends to duplicate. Your team will do what you do. In other words, the person that you enroll, when they hear how you did it, they're going, I could do what he's doing. He didn't need to know much. He just put me in front of the person that does know a bunch. I can do what he's doing. See, it works. It straight up works. In the cold market, you know, you can do things like if you're out getting coffee or you know, you experience good service, you can compliment someone on great service. You'd be great at what I do. What are they going to answer with? Well, what do you do? I thought you'd never ask. I'm involved with this project. It's in digital marketing. It's in digital with crypto. I can't tell you too much about it because I'm new, but I'm really excited about it. And we have a presentation. Coincidentally, it's coming up in an hour and 37 minutes. I'll shoot you the link. I don't know if it's going to be for you or not, but I'd like you to take a look at it with me. Bam, right back to the script, right back to the three allies. Cold market pre-frame. What did I mean by this? What do you really like about your job? Oh, these are good questions. These are really good questions. You talk to somebody, you know, and you have a phone conversation with them or in person. And now, what do you dislike about your job? That's a good question, because that's where you're going to find out what their motivation is to get away from the job that they're doing, which they dislike. The dislike always outweighs the like, by the way. If you find the dislike, you are closer to your goal. And another question that's a good one is, if money were no object, what would you be doing? There's their why, loud and clear. I'd rather be out playing the bass guitar and fly fishing. Really? What if I had a way to show you how to do more fly fishing and bass guitar playing? You would have my undivided attention. Okay? It's as simple as that. Find out what they like. What's in it for me? See, if you find out what it is they're looking for, you can gear what you're talking about to that. This is just kind of sales and marketing 101. It's basic, but this stuff works. Are you open to new ways to make money? Do you keep your business options open? I use that for years. I still use that. Why? Because it works. It still works. I have figured out a way to insert your regular invite. Right? Here's your why. I figured out a way to leave the job. You know, I think I'm going to be able to do that inside of a year. I thought of you, Alex, and I saw this. I thought it was something that might be of interest to you, too. I don't know if it's going to be for you or not. I don't. And it takes about an hour to take a look at it. And coincidentally, we have a presentation coming up in an hour and a half. I'd love to have you join me on there. I'll shoot you the link, and I'll look forward to seeing you there. Fair enough? That's it. That is it. Confirm the details, have them write it all down, get the email. Some of this is literally dating back to the mid-90s when internet was a brand new thing. I mean, write it all down, confirm the details. We were using notepads, right? But it still works. You can do this via email. I'll shoot you the information via email, the link, or instant message. You can get them the link to the webinar. And the key thing is make another call. You know, this allows you to get a high volume of calls made quickly, because you're not presenting, you're making contacts, you're doing contacting and inviting. Okay, it's not presenting. Okay, that's a really, really key thing. Prospecting is contacting, inviting, not presentation, and this tends to duplicate. People will do with others what you did with them. So if you were brief, on point, right to the point, and you get commitment that they're going to show up to a presentation, guess what? They'll probably do the same thing with somebody else. Because when you expose somebody, here's an axiom you don't want to violate. Expose them in a way that they could turn around and do 5 minutes later across, it used to be just across the town, across the county, across the state, now across the country. Wait a minute, across an ocean, because now we've got people from multiple countries on this call right now. So it's not just across the town anymore, it's across an ocean potentially because of Zoom. I mean, COVID did help us with Zoom, didn't it? I mean, it really did. It made Zoom an instrument that is like no other in terms of bringing together an international community. The key thing is expose them in a way they too could turn around and do 5 minutes later. If you're using too much fancy jargon or a bunch of stuff they don't really get, that violates that rule. See, if you keep it simple, I got something I want you to see. It takes about an hour. It'll probably be less than that, by the way, unless the old American I'm working with gets long-winded. You know, you can have fun with it. It takes about an hour. You may or may not be interested. It's happening at an hour and a half from now. I'll shoot you over the link, and I'd love to have you come and attend it with me. Would you be able to show up in an hour and a half? Get their commitment. Get them to say, yes, I would. Terrific. I'll look forward to seeing you there. I'll shoot you the link. See you soon. Next call. Next call. See, just that quickly, you can then increase your call volume dramatically. If you increase your call volume with a good script, you're going to have more success. Now, what's the most important phraseology in this whole thing with the three allies? Okay. The most important phraseology is, let me get there. You may or may not be interested. Here are the three allies. I've got something I want you to see. Okay. Takes about an hour, whatever the time frame is for the particular event. This is not aimed at any event. It's aimed at the concept. Something to show you how long it's going to take for that presentation. And most important phraseology, you may or may not be interested. Why is that the most important phrase? Here's why. It lowers their guard. It says it's okay to say no. Don't try to do any arm twisting here, because if you do that, you're lowering your effectiveness. If you have them show up and you've said it's okay to say no, they're more likely to say, okay, well, I'll look at this thing because Alex told me it's all right to, if it's not for me. And respect that. If they say not for me, thanks for looking. You don't want to do any arm twisting here. There's an old phrase, persuaded against their will is unpersuaded still. In other words, you don't want to do any persuasion here. It's a sorting game. It's find the ones that are after what we have. They'll see it readily. If it's not for them, thanks for playing, thanks for coming. We're still friends. This allows you to not jeopardize friendships and make it weird with the process of prospecting, meaning you don't want to jeopardize business relationships and have the NFL, the No Friends Left Club. That's no good. You want people to show up and not be threatened when they show up and say, hey, if it's not for you, cool. It also sends a subtle signal, which is, I don't need you. Okay? Posture-wise, this is a very, very important concept. I don't need you. You're not saying it, but subtly it's saying it, isn't it? In other words, you may or may not be interested, because not everybody's going to be interested. If it's not for you, cool. We've got abundance mentality. We're talking to enough people that there's going to be a percentage of the people that see it readily, and not only see it readily, they take action. They like it. Well, that sends a very powerful message, because it's the opposite of needy. Is needy, you want to get rid of needy anywhere you can. If you hear needy, help the person that sounds that way change their tonality, change their posture, because needy does not work in this at all. If somebody, please sign up with me, I really need a new, distributor. Ooh, I start twitching when I hear something like that. You don't want to sound that way. You want to sound confident. You want to be bold. In other words, hey man, I just got involved with this thing, Alex. I thought of you because I know that you and I were both talking about how much we don't dislike the job that we have in the oil business right now, and we'd like to get out of that business. I think this could do that. And it's involving digital assets and how you can make passive income by being better educated in this thing. I think it's got legs. I really do. I can't begin to really share the whole presentation with you because I'm new, but I thought of you. The presentation takes about an hour, and it's coming up in exactly 90 minutes. I'll shoot you the link, and I'd love to have you come and attend with me. And you may or may not be interested in it. I don't know, but I'd like to have you come and take a look. Can you do that? Can you be there in an hour and a half? Get the commitment, yes or no. If they say no, terrific. How about tomorrow at 5 p.m. Nigerian time? Does that work for you? No? How about 3 p.m. the next day or 7 p.m. the next day? Get a commitment on the next one if they can't show up for the one you got coming up. Get a commitment. In other words, what you want to do, and see, if you have our calendar system, you know the links for each of the events I just mentioned. They're right there. The key thing is something to show you. You may or may not be interested. It takes about an hour. You can get them in any order, the three allies. The three allies are really, really key. Let me get back there to where that is. Something to show you, how long it takes, depending on the type of event it is. Sometimes, I'm shortening it. It is getting a little bit tighter. 45 minutes, and you may or may not be interested. That's it. Now, as a final kind of an approach here, this is something that I would encourage you as homework and reading. If you don't have this book, get this book. If you're in networking and you're serious about networking, this guy is who I learned this from. One of the three that I learned it from. You can find this book on Amazon. You can find the audio. I encourage you to get both. Make the investment in your knowledge. This book is one of the very best on this topic. It works every bit as well today as it did when he was originally teaching this to me 27 years ago. He was a beast then. He was a legend then. And that legend has gone on to grow. Eric Worre is really good. Get his book, get the audio, so when you're out driving around or you're working out or doing whatever you're doing, you can listen to the book on Audible, which Amazon liked the company so much they bought them. So when you go to Amazon and find this, you'll see audio, book, and book. Get both. If you like Kindle, there's a Kindle version, so you have the electronic version. So one of the things that is helpful, this is something else, actually a different training, but we'll get into how to do testimonials, so that testimonials that work. You want to try to keep them nice and tight. In other words, 30 seconds is ideal. Don't relitigate the case. Tell your story. This is what worked for me. This is why this particular thing worked for me. I was so excited to find this because insert your story. Okay? Don't relitigate the case of the presentation because they saw the presentation. They don't need to really hear that again. So that's a different topic for a different day. I'll be doing some training on how to do this. I learned this from two people, Darren Hardy and Kate Gill, and they were brutal in their honesty with people about being too long-winded on testimonials. You don't want to do that. You want to keep them nice and tight. Also important in presentations is edification. Edification is a thing you want to do when you're a host of an event and somebody's going to be a speaker on the event. You want to edify them very powerfully. Find out enough about their background so that you can build them up. There's a fellow named Clint. He's on the team. He's going to be presenting the next segment to you. Clint Clark is his name. He's absolutely brilliant at compensation plans. He's a consultant in the industry. He's been doing this so long, he actually had hair and it was a different color. I mean, he is good at this. See, you can have fun with it, but you can also build the person up prior to them presenting, which then empowers them with the ability to do better with your guests. It's really powerful and important to do that. Edification, edify. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring this in for a close. As far as the presentation part of this, I want to open it up now to Q&A, and we will get into that information about questions and answers and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the stream, and away we go. But remember, 3 allies. I've got something I want you to see. I've got something to show you. You may or may not be interested. It takes about 45 minutes. Insert whatever time is appropriate for the event that you're sending them to. And those 3 things you can get in any order. If you can insert your why, in other words, if you know them well enough that would be powerful for them, especially if you have a common why. In other words, hey man, I know you and I both talked about, building retirement income, and I found a way to do that. And I'm really excited about it. I thought of you, Alex, and I don't know if this is going to be for you or not. I don't know, you may or may not be interested. You can say it a variety of ways, but something to see. You may or may not be interested in it, however long the event is that you're sending them to, insert that. Get good at delivering that with poise and with posture, and watch how many butts you can put in the seats. Your numbers will improve if you master this. If you really are good, you really want to improve quickly, record yourself doing it. Get a little recorder on your phone. They're widely available on phones. You can record your conversation. You have to be open to doing that and open to the, those uncomfortable realizations when you listen to yourself and go, oh man, why did I say that? That was bonehead, right? But if you're willing to do that, it's amazing how quickly you can improve your results and how quickly you can change your game. And especially record it and then have somebody that is skilled at this process listen to you and go, whoa, wait a minute. We need to change right here, and be receptive to that criticism because they want to help you be better and more effective. And if there's certain words you're saying that don't get a good result, you want to eliminate those. Maybe you're not saying something that needs to be inserted. You want to put that in. If you record it, you'll hear it when you can stand back and listen to it objectively. There's nothing better as far as quickly adapting all of this process than recording yourself delivering it. Nothing better. So again, with that really is going to be the final part here as far as this presentation today. I appreciate you attending, and now we'll get into